All right. Well, we're excited to have our elementary magnet school principals here today for a little Q&A and program overview. Again, parents, if you're tuning in, feel free to join in and submit your questions in the chat. We do have our magnet coordinator here who is taking a look at that chat box and will chime in when questions come in. So again, we're so excited to have Mrs. Faith Gautier from Macmillan, Mrs. Emily Farmer from Forest Avenue, Dr. Donna Ross from Carver Elementary, and the wonderful Miss Elizabeth Hill from Bear Elementary. So again, so glad to have our principals here. And we'll go ahead and kick things off since we are now live. And we'll start with Miss Faith Gautier from Macmillan, who will give us a brief overview of her school and the programs that she offers. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Parents, thank you for joining us this morning. As Ms. Jones said, I am Faith Gautier. I'm the principal at Macmillan. We are a small school, and our focus is International Baccalaureate Studies. We are the first and only, right now, primary years program in Montgomery County. I have 18 homeroom teachers. I have a full-time technology teacher, PE coach, music teacher, librarian. This year, we're working on adding back our foreign language teacher as well as a couple other units. So we have a lot of things that we typically do have been kind of put by the wayside right now as we live in a very COVID-rich environment. But our music teacher, she typically has big productions with each grade level once a month. Our PE coach, he does a lot with the students, with the American Heart Association. Our librarian, she has a focus on, she does a lot with a little bit of activities with Makerspace, does a lot with research, collaborating with the teachers. So we do a lot with, and starting kindergarten through, through 5th grade, we really have a focus on just really good sound instruction as we prepare our students.
All right, well, that's good. And we'll come back and have you talk about the feeder programs from Macmillan and where they'll go. So just hold that thought.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
And up next, we have Mrs. Emily Farmer, and she is the principal at Forest Avenue. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to all of you. I am the principal at Forest Avenue. I have that honor of being there. We are the academic accelerated magnet for Montgomery Public Schools. And so what that means is that reading, math, and English is a grade level ahead. So for example, if you had a 3rd grader, your 3rd grader would go into the classroom at the beginning of the year doing 4th grade standards in reading, English, and math. Science and social studies is on grade level. We are very project-based, higher order thinking type skills. We do a lot of projects in the classroom. If you walked into a classroom at Forest Avenue, you're going to see the kids, not so much right now due to COVID, but normally you are going to see the kids in groups, sitting together, communicating, working together, solving problems. Very fact-based. We look at things. We want to look at things going on in the real world and real-world situations and how to handle those. So that's what you're going to see when you walk into a classroom. We do have several specialists, just like Ms. Gautier was explaining. We have a science lab, which I love for people to go into. All kinds of animals, anything you can imagine is in there. Our science lab teacher is full-time, and she does experiments with each of the grade levels on a daily basis. We have a technology lab. They are working on coding right now in 4th and 5th grade. Just depending on the grade level, depends on what she teaches in there each day, but they are in technology at least once a week, kindergarten through 5th grade. We have a Spanish teacher who is also full-time. We begin that in kindergarten and continue on in 5th grade so that they can leave us and go to Baldwin and Lamp and continue that Spanish study. Let's see, we have, in the afternoons and in the mornings, we have the Good Time program that is at Forest Avenue. I know we have a lot of working parents, so a lot of our parents take pride in coming to, dropping their kids off so that they can go to Good Times. What's great about our Good Times program is that our lunchroom manager works in there and runs that. So she already knows all of the babies, she knows them by name, and she takes care of them in the morning and afternoon, getting their homework done, tutoring, and it's just a really great program there. Let's see, we have a music teacher. We do musical productions normally. Pre-COVID we did, and we will continue working on those. We also go out into the community a lot to do choral productions. We have been, the last couple of years, we have gone and opened up for the governor for her Christmas production. So just different things like that. We have a musical production pretty much every month at Forest Avenue. Each of the grade levels will do some type of play or activity. I think that's about it.
Oh, well, good. Great. No,
That was
that's
a lot.
good. Yeah, it is a lot. And we do have some questions rolling in. I'm so glad to see that. And we will get to that question in just a moment. Thank you for that brief overview. And then we'll have you go through your feeder program in just a second. But up next, we have Dr. Ross, who is the principal at Carver Elementary. Dr. Ross, brief overview.
Good morning. I am Donna Ross. I am the proud principal at Carver Elementary Arts Magnet. I have the responsibility of educating over 400 K through 5 students in not only our academics, but arts as well. We are a performing arts school that feeds to the other performing arts schools in Montgomery. We are only one of 3 in the state, so it is a wonderful opportunity at our school. We offer dance, band, choral, strings, guitar, theater, visual arts, and piano. We often have guest artists in to help work with our artists and our student artists. Alabama State is a great partner with us, as well as Auburn University at Montgomery. University of Alabama Tuscaloosa also sends their fine art students to work with our team of artists as well. We have extensive community experience in the arts. We work with the Arts Council to help structure our program and to make sure that our students are able to go out and perform in various activities around the city. And we also have performed this year in Birmingham. We have a technology-infused curriculum that is held up by our technology coordinator. We have end-of-the-year performances. We also work with the Orchestra Festival and the ASTA Honor Orchestra Festival. We plan to do a performance with them later this spring. We also recognize our students on a monthly basis for their activities in the arts, STEM, and academics. We have a dance team, drama club, art walks, and art auctions as well. We have an after-school program. We use that and a Good Times program in the morning to help with our working parents. And that's just a little bit about our program.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Mrs. Hill from Bayer, who will provide a brief overview of her school's program.
Thank you. I am Elizabeth Hill, principal at Bayer Exploration Center. Thank you for joining us this morning. We have approximately 530 students at Bayer. We have 4 of each grade level, K through 5, so we have 24 homeroom classes, and we have multiple specialists. We have technology, Spanish, art, counseling, science lab, music, PE, and library. And I probably have left one off. But we have all of those that the children attend each week. They go daily to music or PE, just like they would at any other school, traditional or magnet. So they have those opportunities as well. They have additional opportunities. They go to the tech lab, science lab, Spanish, and art lab once a week. And I think once they get to 5th grade, and that's all grade levels, kindergarten through 5th grade, we take multiple field trips. We haven't been able to do that in the past year, but we're about to ramp it back up and get started again, taking care of all of the COVID precautions that are necessary to keep our staff and our students safe. So we're looking forward to getting back on the road to our hands-on learning at Dauphin Island Sea Lab, our tour of Montgomery, different things that we do for the students so that they can get out and see it, live it, touch it, feel it. We do have Good Times violin. Good Times is by the YMCA in the lunchroom in the afternoons. We have violin twice a week in the afternoon, Korean twice a week, I believe, in the afternoons, and chess twice a week after school, as well as abracadoodle. We are a STEM school. We focus on math, science, and technology and the engineering process. However, we have an art lab, so we integrate that as well. So we're kind of a STEAM school. science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. So we infuse that science, that technology, and those mathematics throughout our curriculum. We use the standard Alabama course of study for our curriculum, but we are a little accelerated because our students take on that task. They want that, and we provide that for them.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much. We do have one question, and so we're going to swing back over to Mrs. Gautier. And that question was, do you mind explaining what IB is? And we can take on a little bit of that here, but we want you to start with that.
Okay.
And then we'll go into the other part of the program.
Okay, sounds good. I always describe IB at the primary years level as teaching kids to be good little people. It looks different at the middle years program, which is middle school, and then at the DP program, which is high school. But we just want children to start thinking about the world bigger than themselves because, at our level, kids are just innately, me, I. But we want them to start thinking about, their community, and we start with their home community, their siblings, their parents that are at home, and then that, once they get to school, their school community, in their classrooms, other students that are in the building, as well as the world as a whole. So it's, to me, and it's just teaching them to be, start being thinkers, being risk takers, and just, like I said, just teaching them to be good little caring people, for me, is how I look at it at our level.
Well, that's awesome. And so you would agree that most definitely focusing on those global studies.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, so if we don't have any other questions at this time, we'll start with you, Mrs. Gautier, to maybe explain a little bit the feeder program.
Okay.
And then I do want you to dig in to program requirements. So
Okay.
think of the kindergartners.
Okay.
And then if someone is entering 1st through 5th grade.
Okay.
Okay?
So
Feeder pattern.
I'll start with the feeder pattern. Our students feed from, our 5th graders are direct feed to Johnny Carr Middle, and then from Carr, they go on to Lamp High School,
Okay.
okay? As far as program requirements, did you want me to go in?
Yes, please, from kindergarten, start there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be across
About
the
the same,
board,
okay.
for all of us. For our incoming kindergarten students, we give them a, kindergarten readiness assessment. And, if they make they meet the requirements for that, then they go to the lottery. And then based on that, they do the lottery, and then we get the students that come from the lottery. And then for incoming 1st graders, we do a 1st grade readiness assessment for reading and math, and I think that's across the board as well.
For everyone? Okay.
And so from there, take the assessment. Once the application period closes, we'll get our list, we'll call, email, however, everybody may do something a little bit different. Get those assessments set up for you to come in and take that assessment.
Awesome, thank you so much. And 2nd through 5th, did you mention that, Mrs. Gautier? I'm sorry, we were watching the questions as they're rolling in, because they are. So parents, we thank you so much for that. 2nd through 5th grade, there is a GPA requirement, is that correct?
Yes,
And
and I
is that
believe-
the same across the board? No, it's
I
not,
think
okay.
each individual school has
Okay.
their own GPA
So let's go
requirement.
through 2nd through 5th grade, maybe?
For Macmillan,
Macmillan.
our GPA requirement is a 3.0 to get in for conduct and academics, and then you must maintain that same GPA in order to stay in the program.
Okay.
And so that's 2nd through 5th grade.
Very good. Mrs. Farmer, we'll have you just jump in. We already covered kindergarten and 1st grade, and those are assessment-based. Am I saying that correctly? Very good, because I'm a parent too, and I'll mess it up. So 2nd through 5th grade, do you mind sharing what those requirements look like for entrance and
Okay.
then to maintain?
Okay. To get into Forest Avenue for 2nd through 5th grade, it is a 3.5 GPA. Once you are in, you have to maintain a 3.0 GPA. And also, just to tell you about our feeder pattern, you may go ahead and tell them
Yes,
that.
please.
From Forest Avenue, once you leave there after 5th grade, you'll go into Baldwin Academic, and from there you feed into Lamp.
Very good. All righty. And Dr. Ross, again, you can start with your feeder program. Remind us of that. I think you
Okay.
mentioned it before.
My feeder pattern is Baldwin Arts and Academic Magnet Middle School and Booker T. Washington Magnet High School. So once they leave us, they go to Baldwin or Booker T. Washington. For our 2nd through 5th graders, It is based on their GPA, which is a 3.0. They must maintain that GPA in conduct, arts, and in academics. We ask that once our students, because our students have to go to arts, they have an hour of arts each day. They select 2 arts in the program, so they remain in those arts programs until 4th and 5th grade. They can change at the end of 4th grade, but they must maintain or remain in that arts until they reach the 7th grade at Baldwin Arts and Academic Magnet School.
Okay, that's important, and we may have you reiterate that at the end if that's fine. Okay, and then Ms. Hill, just real quickly.
Our students feed into Floyd Middle Magnet, and from Floyd Middle Magnet to Brubaker Technology Magnet High School, or BruTech as we call it. Our requirements to get in for 2nd through 5th grade is a 2.75 GPA and a 3.0 in conduct, and you maintain those that GPA and that conduct level, and you travel right on through the feeder pattern.
And it's important to note, parents, we just want to make sure that everyone understands that the lottery is random. The lottery is random, so you apply, that's correct, Mrs. Hoyt, meet the eligibility requirements, and then you're placed into the lottery, which is random, okay? I'm going to jump to questions real quickly. We have one for Mrs. Farmer over at Forest Avenue, and the question is, how often do children go to PE, physical education?
Every single day.
Every single day.
PE
Okay.
is a state law, so every single day they will either go with a PE coach, and at Forest Avenue we have 2 PE coaches, or they will go outside with their teacher for PE.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we have another one for Macmillan, and I'm going to have Ms. Hoyt bring it over here so I can read it correctly, okay? This parent says, your program tracks to a specific middle school program. Does that mean it does not prepare students to go into the other tracks? Is there an advantage to staying on one track? Not quite sure.
I wouldn't necessarily say it doesn't prepare you for the other tracks.
Okay.
That would be my, and maybe I'm not understanding the
Well, just
question
generally
specific.
answer,
Yes.
yeah. As you would talk
Because
to a
we
parent.
are on a traditional curriculum, and so if they are feeding into a program that may be an accelerated program or something like that, it may, just depending on what subjects are accelerated, that may be a little bit different, but we are on a traditional curriculum. As far as an advantage to staying on one particular track, just depending on what your child is interested in. For example, at Bayer, she has a focus of STEM, and so staying on that STEM track throughout, if that's what your child is interested in. Or a really good example would be the arts. If you are into the arts, you probably want to stay on that track throughout. So I really think it just depends on your child, is what I would say.
And I'll jump in too real quickly and say that, once the child enters your program, what I've learned is that teachers most definitely communicate with parents, and if they see that a shift is needed, then the parent and the teacher will, talk about that and make the best decision for the child. And I also want to remind parents, at the very end of this, we will share the Magnet email address. If you have questions, please send those over to the Magnet office, and we will try our best to answer those questions if we don't get to it today. But Mrs. Gautier, that was a very great explanation to that question. I'm going to jump real quickly to another question that we have here, something that we definitely want to go over, and I will throw it to Ms. Hill. And this is, what can kindergarten parents do to prepare the children for the assessment? Would it be sight, words, phonics? What would you suggest to a parent who is interested in looking into magnet options?
All of what you said.
All of what you said, Mom.
I would say read to them, continue to read to them every day at some point. Just your regular readiness skills that you would expect a 5-year-old to know. We're not looking for the next Einstein at this point. We just want a child who's ready to come to school, who's ready to read, who's had exposure to reading, has heard it, maybe is even starting to sound the letters out themselves, make the sounds. But the alphabet, they need to know the alphabet.
Early numeracy skills.
numbers, you know,
Repeat
they
that
need to know
again
the
for
numerals.
us.
Early numeracy skills.
Okay,
counting,
explain that.
Counting.
Okay.
Adding objects together, counting objects. They
Okay.
need to know that to be familiar with that.
Very good. Okay. Mrs. Farmer, did you want to add to?
I mean, she pretty much
Much
hit
covered
it.
it. Okay.
Now, with the first grade test, it is a little more, I mean, you know, at Forest Avenue, it's a little bit different because when they go into first grade, they're actually doing second grade standards.
Okay.
So the first grade test is a little more accelerated, and that's for all of us. They go in the kindergarten test, they will have headphones on, so a lot of that is going to be read to them.
Okay.
When they do the first grade test, they do not have headphones on. So that test is going to be something that they have to read some of the information that's there.
Very good. Awesome. All righty. Parents, keep the questions coming in. I have one here. It says, good morning. As a parent of a 5-year-old, my number one question is there a cost for the assessment? Is there a cost to apply for magnet? I'm assuming, Mom, that's what you're asking. And absolutely not.
No,
For the school.
not at all.
No, there's no cost. We're they're public schools. No, there's no cost to that parent. That's a great question. All righty, so we're gonna push forward, and we'll start with Dr. Ross. You are the Performing Arts Elementary School. Do you mind sharing with parents maybe how one would determine what that magnet would look like? For example, if a kid is interested in guitar, how would a parent identify that, if that makes sense, what that child's magnet is?
Well, I think, what we do for kindergarten and first grade, we use that as exploratory. So they are able to go to all of our arts programs on a daily basis, and they sort of sample the arts. And when they reach second grade is when they begin to explore and tell the teachers, and the teachers begin to assess them, and they decide which art may be the most beneficial to them. So it's sort of we're trying to grow and groom them for Baldwin and BTW. So it's sort of exploratory at my school. So we used to audition, but we don't anymore. We do have some scholars who come in and they are prepared. They are artists and performers already, but we do have some who are novice. They don't know anything about arts or piano, and we sort of teach them and help them to develop so that they will be prepared at Baldwin.
Dr. Ross, we actually received a question via email yesterday, and the parent wanted to know, do the students bring the instruments home daily?
Yes, ma'am, they do. It's a lot of loading and tugging, but they do bring them home, and our artists encourage practicing with the instruments. So they
Okay.
do bring them home.
Awesome, very good. It looks like we are still having those questions to come in, which is awesome. But as Ms. Hoyt is preparing a list of questions for me to read to you all, we'll start with Macmillan here. I do want you to share a little bit, Mrs. Gautier. This year, you all were named the 2020-2021 National Blue Ribbon School. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that? It's so exciting. I think some others have had that distinction as well. But because you just received it, we'd love to hear a little bit about that. Share that with our parents.
The national, and I do share that with two of my colleagues up here, so that was exciting for us. In order to be named a National Blue Ribbon School, you have to be scoring in the top, I can never remember off the top of my head, top 15%, I believe, in the state for 2 consecutive years.
You have to be nominated, first of all, by the state.
Okay,
our
so
state
we were
to do that,
nominated.
yes.
I didn't fill out an application until after the nomination
Which is
rolled
awesome.
in, and so it was a complete shock to us. But it just looking at our data, our assessment data for the 2 previous years. And then they call you and they let you know, and you go and you get this big award, and you share
Now,
with
where
your
do you go?
students.
Where do you
We
go?
went to Washington, D.C.
Awesome.
For the first time. I think the last couple of years they hadn't had an in-person celebration, so we were able to go and to receive that award. So it was a big honor, and just I'm really, really proud of the hard work of my students and my teachers on accomplishing that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And it is important to note that I do believe a few of our other elementary schools have received the same honor in the past. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Good deal. The questions are rolling in, you all. We can't really keep up with them, so I'm excited but I'm going to jump over. Mrs. Hill, if you don't mind, do you mind addressing if a student wants to change tracks, do they have to reapply? For example, is this meaning if they want to go to another school, another magnet school, another feeder pattern? Do they
Okay,
have to apply for
right.
that?
Just as we said earlier, Bayer, Floyd, Brutech, Carver, Baldwin, BTW, Forest Avenue, Baldwin Academics, Lamp, and then Macmillan to Carr and Lamp. At any point, a Bayer student wants to leave Bayer. Say they've decided arts is my thing. Really need to focus on my piano. I'm really loving that. I'm digging it. I'm really good at that. I'm excelling. I really think Carver's the best place for my child to go at this point. Yes, you would have to apply to go to Carver and have meet their GPA requirements and conduct requirements in order to be accepted at Carver. At Forest Avenue, the same thing. If you decided, yep, we're going to skip that second grade, we've done that, I'm going to go on ready for fourth grade. I'm going to go straight from second to fourth grade because that's what third graders do. Yes, you would have to apply and meet the criteria. The same at Macmillan. If you decided the global studies, we're a military family, that's more what we're involved with or we like. They know a lot about international studies already. Let's go on to Macmillan. Yes, you must apply. Same would
And
be
by
if you're.
applying, real quickly, that means to do the application, any documentation that is necessary, it will explain in that application process.
Correct.
And then be entered into the random lottery, correct?
Correct.
Meet eligibility requirements.
Right, you have
Yes,
to meet
ma'am, sorry.
eligibility requirements. And the same thing, if you decided I've decided the math, science, and technology is what my child wants, that's what we need, then you would have to apply for Bayer from one of the other schools. But from Bayer to Floyd, they do not apply.
Got you. Yes, ma'am. And again, our magnet coordinator wants me to specify that the applicant must meet the eligibility requirements and that the lottery is random. Okay.
And Jay, can I jump in there?
Yes,
Because I
please,
think we
please.
get a little bit of confusion when they're going from elementary to middle school.
Okay, please
So
clarify,
if you,
yes.
and Liz hit on it, but if you are within your feeder pattern, going from 5th grade to 6th grade, you do not have to apply for that school. However, if you're at Macmillan and we feed to Carr, but like Liz said, I am, and I had that situation. I had a student that was really into the cello. So even though we fed to Johnny Carr, he wanted to go ahead and focus on those arts. And so he did have to apply to go to Baldwin, or the same thing. If you feed to, if we feed the Carr, but you want to go to Floyd, you do have to apply to a middle school that is outside of your feeder pattern. But you do not, and I know we like to stress that, you do not have to apply for the middle school that you are direct feed to.
Well, thank you for that clarification. That is a great point. We do receive that question quite often. So again, to reiterate, if you are feeding to a specific school, so 5th to 6th grade, and that is your designated feeder pattern, you do not have to apply. But if you're changing, then you must apply.
Correct.
And meet the eligibility requirements, and it's a random selection. There is a question, I hate to throw this curveball. If you are in the magnet program and you apply for a different feeder program, is there a waiting period or a time frame to make your decision on what program it is that you are going to, or if you're going to stay or if you're going to go? Okay, there is a time frame that you have to make that decision, and that will be specified in the email that you receive. Okay, all righty. Okay, fun question, and we will throw this to, I think we'll pick Mrs. Farmer here. Are there specialty sports programs in the magnet schools? And this is open to anyone, but we'll have Ms. Farmer to jump in. Specialty sports programs.
We do not have any specialty sports programs that would be done outside of, what we do normally with PE. We do have parents, though, in the past who have gotten together groups like Hoops League, and they, it's called the Forest Avenue team because it's Forest Avenue children. It's not sponsored by Forest Avenue or Montgomery Public Schools, but we do have a lot of parents that will get together and do that. I know Bayer also has a team doing Hoops League. We've got soccer coming up that some of the parents are talking about getting together. So, and we also have a lot of kids that go outside AUM. They go to different, a couple of years ago we had some kids that were in the AUM All-Star League and went all the way. So we have a lot of kids that do a lot of extracurricular activities, but as far as sports being done and sponsored by Montgomery Public Schools and the elementary schools, we do not have anything like that.
Okay, thank you so much. All righty, I'm going to go ahead and just jump over to some typical parent questions, if you will, and we'll start with Dr. Ross. Do you mind sharing with parents what a typical homework assignment day looks like? For example, is Carver homework heavy? Is that fair? Is that a fair question, parents? I think we all want to know. And that's for everyone to jump in.
I think that we try and prepare our students for the next level, so we give them enough homework to try and enrich them. But our students are expected to practice with their instruments, so that does add a lot of extra time in their day. But I would not say we are homework heavy, but we do encourage our scholars to learn while they're at home. We encourage reading. We do encourage some practice from the day, but it is not heavy laden to me.
Would everyone agree? I won't put anybody on the spot. Would everyone agree with that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much, very
You want
good.
them to practice what they've learned in school. So they may have, a few math problems to practice at home. We always want them to read every afternoon, evening, once they're at home. Sometimes an assignment is their reading, if it's in a trade book. But even if it's not, we still want you to find something to read it could be a magazine, it can be nonfiction, or it can be your library book that you've gotten at school. Either way, we like to say that I know most of our students are involved outside of school with sports, music, church, other activities. They still have time for those.
Thank you, thank you. I'm going to jump to a question real quickly, and since we're with you, Ms. Hill, we'll have you take a stab at it, and I hope that I understand it correctly. It reads, is there an advantage to stay on one track or feeder pattern? Is there an advantage to stay on one track or feeder pattern? And we'll have Ms. Hoyt jump in if she needs to.
Now, as an
clarify.
advantage,
Okay,
yes, it would be, because you don't have to apply to another school. You maintain your eligibility to remain at that school. From Bayer, you stay at Bayer for K through 5. You move right on into Floyd, 6 through 8. Then you move right on into Brewtech, 9 through 12. You never have to apply again. You don't have to go through that anxiety. You don't have that worry again.
as long as you maintain.
Right, as long as you maintain the requirements. Now, academically, it's going to depend on your child. It's going to be different from my child to Dr. Ross's child to Ms. Farmer's, Ms. Gautier's, and yours. That is just simply something that a parent is going to have to decide. So the advantage is you don't have to go through the anxiety of applying again and wondering, once you get in, you're in. But on the other side, you have to decide what's best for your child,
That sums it up well. We thank you for that. I think you hit it right there. Are there any other questions? Parents, we do encourage you to send your questions on in. We do have about 30 minutes left in our session. I think it's going pretty well so far. Let's see here. Okay, let's go to our frequently asked questions. And we've already started. Is there a cost to attend the magnet program? No, there is not. Real quickly, transportation. Who wants to take a stab at transportation? Because parents, it's very important to note that transportation is a little different for our magnet scholars, correct? So I think we'll have Mrs. Farmer. We'll have Mrs. Farmer go ahead and take a stab at that, and our principals can join in to explain transportation.
Okay, first off, with the elementary magnet schools, we all start later than the normal elementary schools. And the reason is because once the buses pick up the elementary students and take them to their schools, they then have to go back and pick up the magnet students. And the way the magnet transportation works is we have hubs. And so, for example, if your child lives in Deer Creek or or areas that would be zoned for blunt, or that, in the east part, then there's a certain hub that all of those children go to, which is at one of the schools. They are taken there by their parents. The bus comes and picks them up and then brings them to whichever magnet school they are. So each of the different neighborhoods has a hub that they go to. In the afternoons, the children get back on the buses at our schools. They go back to that hub, and the parent is there waiting to pick them up.
All right, well, you summed it up very well. Thank you so much for that. Any other principals want to join in on that transportation? Very good, because she summed it up well. Awesome. All righty, I'm going to go ahead and see if we have another question. I think we do. All righty, and parents, please continue to send them in. We're happy to answer those general magnet application questions. Awesome. Okay. All righty, this one, we'll throw it to Mrs. Gautier. It's just a general question. When will classroom activities and field trips resume to normal?
We were actually given permission that we could resume field trips February 1st. However, we've been encouraged, and we will take all safety precautions when resuming those field trips. But effective February 1st, we can start field trips. A lot of I know several of us mentioned performances that we have to do, that not that we have to do, but that we do. Those have kind of been halted due to COVID, and I think that'll just be handled on a case-by-case, individual school basis. But field trips can resume, and I'm not sure about if they mentioned teams, but I know team sports have been continuing.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. That is correct. Thank you so much for that. Well, another question. Let's see here. All righty. How do we know which transportation hub will be ours? How do we know which transportation hub that they will be assigned?
Usually on the Montgomery Public School website, they will put that out for you closer to the beginning of the school year. It lists all of what school that you would be zoned for, and you can also find out if you don't know what your zone school is. You can go on the Montgomery Public School website, you stick your address in, and it'll pop right up for you, or you can call any of us and we'll be happy to find that information out for you. And then the hub sites are listed by where your zone school is, and you would know then that that's your hub site that you would go to.
And thank you so much. The questions are rolling in, you all. We are so excited. Let's see here. Okay, this is for each principal, and we will start with Dr. Ross. What is your typical teacher-student ratio in your classrooms?
Well, it depends on grade level. So about K first grade, it's about 1 to 18. In third grade, we have 1 to 20. And in fourth and fifth grade, we're about 1 to 22.
Mrs. Hill?
Kindergarten, first and second, we're 20 students in each class. Third grade, about 22 students per class. And in fourth and fifth grade, we can go anywhere up to 26 per class, but we typically keep that around 24 because that's a number divisible by 4, and that works best for your group work.
Mrs. Farmer?
For kindergarten and first grade, we are 1 to 18. For second and third, we're 1 to 20. Fourth grade is 1 to 22, and then fifth grade, we're around 24 is where we are right now. It just kind of depends on how many fourth graders we have moving up into fifth. We have more fourth grade teachers than we do fifth grade teachers, so it depends on the year, but we try not to go over about 24 in each class.
And Mrs. Gautier?
Kindergarten through third grade, about 20 students in each class, and then fourth and fifth, about 25.
All righty. And again, thank you all so much for that. The questions are still rolling in, and I love it here. This question is for Dr. Ross. Does Carver have a visual art focus, such as drawing or graphic arts, or is it just musical or performance arts? So do you offer drawing and graphic arts?
Yes, ma'am, we do. We offer visual arts. It is a class. Normally, they attend every other day, so we're on an A-day, B-day schedule. So any arts class that they attend, they'll attend 2 to 3 times a week. But we do have a visual arts focus, and we do have our art walks and our auctions, and we try and work with local artists in the community.
Thank you so much for that. All righty. This is a general question. I think it is definitely a great one here. Mrs. Gautier, do you mind sharing typically, and anyone can jump in, what time do after-school programs typically start, and the cost? Is there a cost for most of them?
We have the Good Times program, and that begin after dismissal, and we dismiss at 3:40. So once we call for dismissal, our Good Time students go down there. The cost of that, I'm not real sure of because
That is
runs
available on the
complete-
YMCA
Okay, yeah, 'cause
website.
that
So
goes
as a parent, I can
completely
tell you that, right. It is
through Good
available, the
Times.
cost is available on the YMCA website. You can register there for Good Times.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for Bear, I think that was specifically for Bear. I do apologize.
Oh, okay.
But same thing.
It is, our dismissal is at 3:30. So they dismiss straight from the classroom to Good Times, if that's when they go there.
And your Good Times program is
In the
at your
lunchroom.
school.
Right.
Okay, but it is important to note, not to put Dr. Ross on the spot there, but your Good Times program is not at the after school
It's not at our school.
is not at your school. It
It's at
is
the
actually at one of the YMCA's.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so parents, Carver's after school Good Times program is actually at one of the YMCA sites.
Now, Jade, any of the other activities we have after school, chess, there is a fee. It's payable to the people that run the chess program. Same thing with Abracadoodle. I don't think there's a fee for violin. I think that's a grant that we have through Montgomery Public Schools and the Symphony. And there's no fee for Korean either. I believe that's a grant situation as well.
And parents, you'll receive that information once your child is accepted. That will come home with your child.
And they
to
finish
sign up.
around 4:30, so it's about an hour program, 4:30. If they're on the jump rope team, which they have to try out for and make with the coach. then
There's a
that's-
jump rope team.
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
We have a jump, that would be our sport. That would be our one sport,
That's
our one elementary sport.
Well, here you
Yes.
go. Okay, and there's a question. What is Abracadoodle?
Abracadoodle is an art program that's after school, and it's not affiliated with the school.
All right.
And
thank you
Jade,
so
I'll jump in.
Yes.
And I would say typically for any of us that have anything after school, it's going to be after the children get dismissed from class right to that program. So if you dismiss at 3:30, then they go to their after-school program, right as the school dismisses.
All righty. This is a pretty general question here. If I'm reading it correctly, it reads, how many classrooms are at each school? I know you all did the teacher ratio, but how many classrooms are at each school?
At Macmillan, I have 3 teachers per grade level. So K through 5, I have 3 teachers on all of my grade levels.
At Forest Avenue, we have 5 teachers in kindergarten. 2nd grade through 4th grade, there are 6 teachers and 5 teachers in 5th grade.
At Carver, we have 3 per grade level.
Bear has 4 per grade level, K through 5, so we have 24 classrooms, homerooms.
All righty. All right. The questions are still rolling in. And again, parents, we have about 15 minutes left in this session. So please put your questions in the chat box. We did receive some questions via email. So I do want to make sure that we give a little attention to that. I'm going to start with Dr. Ross. This is a general question, and anyone can join in. This parent is homeschooling their child. And they asked, will my child be able to apply for a magnet program? Again, homeschool children, should they apply, or is it open to them to apply?
Yes, homeschool children are welcome to apply. There's a little bit of difference in how they have to produce their transcripts, depending on their grade level. If it's 1st grade, if they're applying for 1st grade, then they would take the assessment that everyone else takes. But if 2nd through 5th grade, then there's something with our school system with MPS that they have to take and do and present paperwork.
And that parent will be notified of
Right.
everything. Okay, awesome. Okay. Important to note, so if you are homeschooling your children, and if your homeschool is not Cognia accredited, that child would have to be assessed. Or any other school, that child would have to be assessed, okay? All righty, moving over to a few other questions that we did receive via email. Mrs. Gautier, we'll go to you on this one. It reads, if my child does not make the GPA or discipline requirement to to remain in the magnet program, what are my options? Again, if my child does not make the GPA or discipline requirement to remain in the magnet program, what are my options? And I know we went over that earlier, but just to reiterate.
Well, you typically have to maintain the GPA requirement for each program. And if you don't make that, then, throughout the course of the school year, we're in contact with the parents, letting them know that little Johnny isn't making the GPA requirement, creating plans, trying to, keep them on track. And then, at the end of the school year, if we're not making those requirements, then there's a conference is had with the principal, and decisions are made from there.
And I'm going to jump in.
Yes, please.
I know that all of us, like she said, we communicate with the parents regularly. Around when magnet applications usually open, if we have students who are, having trouble making that GPA, we all have conversations with those parents of, you may want to apply for a different magnet. This just may not be, if you want to do art or if you want to, do bear, or there may be something else that your child is interested in where they would perform better. And so we encourage them to apply also. So you still have that option. Not making the GPA at one school does not mean that you can't apply for another magnet school.
Awesome, and I think everyone is shaking their head in agreement on that. All righty, one more email here that I do want to touch on. Dr. Ross, you can answer this, and again, this is open to anyone. If I have a student in a magnet school, is his sibling automatically accepted if they apply? Again, siblings, are they automatically accepted if they apply?
Unfortunately, no. Each student, if they meet eligibility, I'll make sure that I say that for Ms. Hoy, they must enter the lottery, and each student must be selected in the lottery to attend. So, unfortunately, no.
And again,
And the lottery is random.
Right, we want to reiterate that each applicant must meet the eligibility requirements, and the lottery is random. Alrighty, again, another question, which is, they're still rolling in. Thank you all. What are the class start times and dismissal times? So we'll start with Mrs. Hill again on that.
At Bayer,
finish.
we start at 8:30. The tardy bell is at 8:30. Dismissal bell is at 3:30. We start allowing the students to enter the building at 8 o'clock. They come in at 8. We go in. We speak to them, get them out of the cars, that sort of thing. Bring them in starting at 8, and they take care of their homeroom activities, their anything that they need to make up if they were absent the day before, and breakfast. That's during the time that they have their grab and go breakfast if they choose to eat breakfast at school.
Alrighty, Dr. Ross.
At Carver, our start time is 8:30. We do allow them in the building at 8 o'clock. They are tardy by 8:40 if they're not in their seats. Our dismissal is at 3:30. We do have our carpool, so make sure that everyone understands the carpool. We ask you to be patient with that. It is a experience, so we want you to know that as well.
Alrighty, Mrs. Farmer.
At Forest Avenue, good time students can come in the building as early as 7 o'clock. Everyone else comes in at 8:10. We have our tardy bell at 8:40, and then we get out at 3:40. Good time students can stay as late as 6 o'clock.
We allow students in at 8:15. Our first bell rings at 8:40. Our tardy bell rings at 8:50. So students are tardy after 8:50, and then we dismiss at 3:40. And like Ms. Farmer said, good times. They can come in as early as 7 and leave as late as 6.
Alrighty. Well, we are about 10 minutes out from ending our session here, and I think it has been great so far. We just want to do a brief recap, if we can, for those who are joining in to hear a little bit about each school's program. So, Mrs. Hill, if you'll just recap all the wonderful things that are happening at Bear, and maybe a little encouragement to those parents who are thinking about Bear.
Please come see us. We are having tours, in-person tours, from 9 to 11. Today is Thursday. It might have been the last day. We may extend it to next week since we could not have them last week. So call the school before you come, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, to come by and give us a visit 9 to 11. Parents are conducting the tours, so you can get a parent's perspective on how they chose, why they chose Bayer, that sort of thing. We are a STEM school. Math, science, and technology is in our name. We focus on math, science, and technology. We celebrate math, science, and technology and the engineering process. We even have math and science nights that are extracurricular for our parents to come with their students and participate in those activities. We have a book swap on our literacy night. We have animals in our science lab. We have a garden in our courtyard area where the students can plant and then harvest their vegetables. We had the third graders do their cabbage project, and we usually have a few cabbages left. We have those in the garden, and kindergarten plants pumpkins, that sort of thing. But we focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and we throw a little art in there too with our art studio.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Ross.
Again, I'm at Carver Elementary and Arts Magnet School. Our curriculum provides a learning environment to meet students' needs who are interested in the creative and performing arts. We have 8 art instructors in dance, band, choral, strings, guitar, theater, visual arts, and piano. Our students will take a arts course every day for an hour. We have interaction with guest artists. We have a lot of students in our building from local universities. We have extensive community experience in the arts. Artists come in and paint murals and teach our students about those things. We like to do a lot of performances. Our students enjoy performing and showing their talents. We are located in West Montgomery on a quaint campus, and we invite you to come and explore and come and see us one day. We are not offering tours right now, but we do hope to offer them soon. Thank you.
Mrs. Farmer.
Okay, Forest Avenue Academic Magnet. We are the accelerated magnet, so our students work in reading, math, and English a grade level ahead. I encourage you to get online to our PTA website. It is FAAMPTA.com. There is all kinds of information, videos on there, just a lot of good information. And our PTA will be happy to answer any parent questions you may have. We are not doing tours either at this point in time, but we have a PTA staff that will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. You can also email me. I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have about the curriculum. We have all of the wonderful specialists that everyone else does, and we are just really excited about this coming year. But again, anything that I can answer for you or do for you, please email me and let me know.
All righty, Ms. Gautier.
Okay, again, at Macmillan, we are K-5. We're on a traditional curriculum. And with the IB, I reiterated that we just kind of focus on teaching little people to be good little caring people. International studies, we do have, as Ms. Farmer and everybody else said, with the exception of all of the arts that Ms. Farmer has, not Ms. Farmer, Dr. Ross has over at Carver, PE, music, technology, library, working on getting our foreign language back this year. But we are excited at the prospect of having, new parents. Again, we are not offering in-person tours this go round. Maybe something this summer, depending on what COVID is doing. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can find my contact information on the school webpage, and we will be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
All righty, thank you all so much. And parents, we just want to give you a few little tidbits about the magnet application process schedule. Very important before I jump into that is that the number of slots and magnet slots, they do vary, across grade level and school, so that's very important. But the application window did open on January 10th and will close on February 10th. Again, parents, the application magnet application window opened on January 10th and will close February 10th. The testing windows will be determined at a later date. You will be emailed or contacted via email, I do believe. Is that correct? About testing information. All righty. Transcripts must be submitted by February 24th, no later than 4 p.m. Again, if you are required to submit a transcript, you must have it in by February 24th, no later by 4 p.m., and that information on where you send that will be a part of your application process. Okay? Again, website closes on February 10th at 4 p.m. The magnet lottery run date, again, we hope to have that by the end of March. Again, we will let you know when the lottery will run, and we hope to have that by the end of March. And if there is a second lottery, we will notify parents in enough time. Again, we will notify parents of a second lottery run. All righty, and for the good of the order, we do have one more question, I do believe. Let's see here. Should we apply to more than one magnet school? We'll give that over to Mrs. Hill. She's been around quite for a while, so should parents apply to more than one magnet school?
You can only apply for 2 elementary magnets. Is that still correct, Ms. Hoyt? You can only apply for 2 elementary magnets. Your first choice, and then you get a second choice. In some cases, some schools will not go to their second choice. It just depends on how many qualified, eligible applicants they have for the grade level and the number of openings that they have. Sometimes it may be a kindergarten at another school. They may have excess slots because they didn't have enough that were eligible to fill that, so they may fill that, but that doesn't mean they'll go to second choice for 4th grade. It's going to be completely, totally grade level and school determined.
Right. And again, those slots do vary across each school and depending on grade level.
Jay,
Right.
can I
Yes.
say one thing,
Yes, you
piggybacking
can.
on what Liz said? Because we get a lot of questions throughout this process once we start testing. Well, I didn't hear from Bear. Well, if you listed Macmillan as your first choice and Bear as your second choice, chances are you will not hear from Bear. You'll do all of your assessing for kindergarten and 1st grade with your first choice school.
That's
So
important
the
to know.
only way you'll hear from your second choice is if that second choice school has to go to their second choice applicants. So whatever school is your second choice, you typically will not hear from them.
Unless
Unless
there's an open slot for that student.
Exactly.
And they will not have to be reassessed because we all use the same test.
Okay, again, say that again.
For your second choice, you will not hear from that school to be tested. We will use the same score across the same test, not the same score necessarily, but the same test is used across the board for all schools. So for your second choice, you won't have to test there. We take that first choice.
All righty, thank you so much. And just another important note, if your child is an MPS student and has been in MPS for the past 2 years, you do not need to complete a transcript request form. Again, if your child is an MPS student and has been in MPS for the past 2 years, that's 2 consecutive years, you do not need to complete a transcript request form. Is that right?
Correct, and you also do not have to do a transcript if you are applying for kindergarten or 1st. That's a test. Sometimes parents think that they have to send one also. You do not.
Alrighty, thank you so much for that. Well, we are at the end of our hour here. We want to thank all of you for joining us today. Parents, we want to thank you for submitting your questions. If we did not get to those, please feel free to email magnet@mps.k12.al.us. Again, that is magnet@mps.k12.al.us, and we will get to those. Again, thank you all so much. We have Mrs. Gautier from Macmillan Elementary, Mrs. Emily Farmer from Forest Avenue, Dr. Donna Ross from Carver Elementary, and again, the lovely Elizabeth Hill from Bear. Again, we thank you all so much for joining us, and if you have any questions, please submit those to magnet@mps.k12.al.us. Thank you all so much, and until next time, remember, we are MPS, and we're moving forward together.